And we are live. Hello, everybody. I'm Diana. I'm a life coach, a mental fitness coach, a relationship coach, and a health coach. I've been doing this for a while. Today, I'm going to have a conversation with Heather, and that's going to be about coaching parents because that's what she does. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
I'm Heather. I just actually started this year on to coaching. I've had my certification for a while now, but the pandemic kind of really pushed me to do my coaching. It really opened my eyes. So I just started this, and I've just recently worked with a business coach to actually help me build a program for parents and to bring positivity to parents and to positivity to their children or child.
That's great. What type of approach do you have with the coaching of parents? Because I've seen different approaches. Some are much more into the punishment and reward system. Others are more into the relationship building. What's your approach?
My approach is more being more rewarding the positive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Past training that I have in my old line of work that I did, it was always taught to us to reward the positive behavior because you will see more of the positive behavior, and then the negative behavior will eventually go away, or you're able to figure out why they're having that certain negative.
Yeah.
Your eyes are more.
Yeah. So you're helping parents look for the reasons why the children may act out as well, so that they, that's always a good thing to dig into that a bit, because there are always reasons for that. Yep. Do you have any specific approach that you use with that, or is it more of a let's talk about it type of thing? Because frequently that will work quite well as well.
I start with the parents, and I try to build the parents, their mindset into a more positive mindset, because once they're there, then they can show their child or children how to do that. So it's more lead by example kind of thing.
Yeah, I've learned that in the past when I got a puppy, that it was about my behavior first before, and that was well before I had children, but that really set my head into the place of, that's how it works. When I can give the good example and do the right things with a child, they'll follow as well, because even a puppy does it, so why wouldn't a child do it? It was quite funny how that really worked in my head that way. And it does really, really work that when you, I have said to my kids at times, don't do as I do, do as I say, and it doesn't really work. It's quite funny though. They find it hilarious when I say that. So. What age group of children, or is it all ages? Does it not really matter?
It's really all ages, because you are a parent until you no longer are anymore. So
well, I think you're a parent for life the moment that child is born. There's no way out anymore.
Nope.
Just stays that way. Just like when you're a child of someone, that doesn't stop until they're not in this world anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have more affinity with a certain age group, or is it more about like all?
So I would like to start younger. The younger the better, because the children at that certain age, they just absorb knowledge so much faster and see it and do it a lot better versus older. They're more open.
No, I get what you mean. Do you have anything you'd like to share about your background, your training towards this? People.
Well, I've been in the healthcare field for, I hate to age myself, but almost 20 years. And I've had so much different training. And as the time changed, so did a lot of stuff how the state wanted things done with people. And one of the things was to bring more positivity, more positive behaviors, positive supports, or what they're really called here anyway. So I learned a lot from that, and I was actually, from that training, I was actually able to, when I did it with other people, worked with other people on it, I actually got to see the results, and I saw the results more in the child versus the adult. The child is more willing to do it. It's not such a struggle with a child versus with an adult.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any any specific systems that you learned, or is it more a general bringing more of a positive outlook on health and well-being?
It's more of the positive outlook, because I saw the change, and that's one reason why I kind of got out of the healthcare, is because I actually saw what I was doing. I'm like, well, if I can do it in this kind of line of work, why can't I do it in life coaching work?
Yeah, that makes total sense, because people who look for a coach are actually looking for more positivity in their life. So then it's in a hospital, I don't think, or in the healthcare system, many people don't expect much positive in general, because it's about illness, so that gives a bit of a negative headspace for many anyway. So yeah, that makes sense. So let me think. Some of the parents that you've worked with, did you have any really good experiences with them that would be worth sharing in a bit of a story that was really profound, how that was for them?
Some parents, they like to coddle their child, especially a child with a disability. So once you get through that breakthrough, I would say, you got to stop looking at them as just with a disability. You got to look at them as just a normal human child, just like if they had siblings. And there was one parent, it was just a horrible, horrible morning with this child. Just nothing was going right with anybody. And the mother actually, just from past working with her, she actually implemented something, and it turned the child's behavior around just like that. And I only worked with this child for like a couple hours in the morning before school. And the mother was actually able to help get the child's behavior better, or more positive behavior, in just a matter of minutes. We spent almost an hour having that negative behavior, but the mom just sat and just listened to the child and listened to the frustration. And the mom put herself in the child's place, or tried to anyway, as best as she could. And she related a lot more with the child. So that way she was able to help the child better. And it worked. We got her out on the school bus in time.
That's amazing.
And you would never know that she had a bad morning.
Yeah, I've had these kind of experiences with my own children as well, to sit down with them and listen. Somehow it gets things done much quicker than when keep going for the battle, as in you have to do this, you have to do this. To get to the point of, well, why don't you want to do it? Let's talk about it. And then the moment I understood, it's something that I've learned works in relationships altogether. The moment I understand what's going on for someone, because I'm curious enough to try to figure it out, and I can be compassionate, the whole problem tends to go away. It's been fascinating to go down that route at times. I don't always do it, because sometimes I'm just irritated. But when I do, it works. It works so much better than other things do. Yeah. Have you experienced, because a lot of coaches experience that when they're coaching people, that some of their clients help them get to really good insights and things like that. Have you had an experience like that, where you had this thing of, wow, this was amazing, this conversation, I think I got more out of it than the client? Not that is always the case, but sometimes it feels that way, and then the client tends to tell you, I got so much out of it. So
I have. I like to learn a lot from the clientele that I do work with. I'm not a mother. So just hearing their stories and how they do it, and how they are open to change their perspective on how to raise their child. So it's really being able to see somebody change like that. It's just like, wow, I kind of played a part in that a little bit. And it's really nice to see, and it gives me the confidence in myself that, hey, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Have you ever had where you had with a client that it was really difficult to have the conversation with them about what you were trying to say, that they struggled understanding? Because I've had that with the odd client where I realized that the conversation I was not able to explain things to them the way I was trying to. And I'm mostly listening anyway, but sometimes there's a bit of a story that I share, and sometimes people pick that up completely different than the way I experienced it, and then having a conversation about that. That initially there's this bit of we don't understand each other, but then eventually that grows into a hey, now we're getting there. Have you ever had anything like that?
Oh, yes, for sure. Because,
Okay.
some parents are stuck in their ways, and
Mm-hmm.
they just need to work on changing their
Yeah.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They always say, "Oh, this worked for so many years. Why all of a sudden is it not working?" Well, you gotta figure that out. You gotta take
Yeah.
the time. And some people just are in that comfort zone and they don't want to change their perspective. This
Yeah.
is how they do it. This is how they know how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes easy to them. But
Yeah.
they're not getting the results that they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some do take a little time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard some parents say that I was raised this way. It's totally good. I don't want to change anything, but then trying to have the conversation of but your children are not you, and that's the way that people used to do it. That doesn't necessarily make it right. It's I've also had at some point a conversation with someone who was a grandmother who really struggled with the fact that her children wanted to do it different because she had this thing. But I did a great job. Look at my children; they're amazing. And trying to explain to her what I've noticed for myself, because I do have a grandchild, so I see how my daughter does some things different. And what I've realized at some point while I was talking with her was that the way I parent it was not necessarily bad or wrong, because I did a decent job. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been such amazing people. But she was very much better at figuring out what I didn't do right. So therefore, she's making those changes. But I did that the same way with how my mom did it.
Mhm.
So my mom didn't, she parented me the way she did. And then I figured out these things were not the way that were ideal for me. So I changed things with my children, and they're doing the same. And I think that's only natural that as a child, what was not exactly right, what would have been better off in a different way. The moment you're an adult, that's what you're going to do. But I have seen a lot of grandparents that really struggled with that they couldn't
Yep, I see that too.
get to
Yeah.
that point of, oh, I did a great job. Yeah, you did a great job, but that doesn't mean that it can't be done better.
Yep.
It's been interesting conversations like that. Have you had many of those?
Yeah, grandparents. I
Hmm.
think a lot of grandparents don't realize these children are growing up in a world full of technology.
It's a
You
different world.
didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't my early childhood. I didn't grow up with technology. So it's like
Hmm.
it is two different worlds. And
Yeah.
you gotta remember that. It's two different worlds.
And different people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I found the most interesting to try to explain to people, that everybody is uniquely themselves. They're all different. And therefore, actually with my own children, I've parented them all somewhat different within the same philosophy, but because they were different people, they needed different things from me. And that's
Yep.
something that um, with my mom, I could explain that eventually to her, but it took quite a bit of time for her to realize that, yeah, everybody's different. And also the conversation about how she parented me and my brother, that was different as well. And then once she started realizing that she'd done that, and that she actually also changed her parenting from the way her mother had parented her, and then that conversation was doable, but it took quite a bit of time to get to that point of, I'm not holding anything against you. I'm just doing it somewhat different.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
That's,
learned from her and you're making
yeah.
it better.
Yeah. It's copy and improve, basically. That's
Yep.
what we do in business all the time. We copy someone else's thing and then improve it, make it tweak to our needs and wishes. And
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
actually a good thing. Yeah. So how do you talk to parents who have the grandparents that don't like that they're making changes, because there are a lot of parents who struggle with the influence of the grandparents on how they deal with their own children. Do you have any?
I always like to tell the parents, just show the grandparents
Hmm.
how this is actually working.
Hmm.
Like just talk to like, you remember when so and so did this a couple years ago, but now look at 2 years later,
Hmm.
you don't see that behavior anymore. It's because
Yeah.
I've been it's a process. I've been slowly trying to improve it. And sometimes people forget to look in the past to see how the future changed or how the
Hmm.
present has changed. And I
Yeah.
always try to remind them, always go look in the past to see how that child was once behaving, to now how they are behaving today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that changes people's perspectives.
Yeah.
That does make sense. Then it comes to them but there are some that just, it's very hard to change their perspective.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to convince them either. That's the good thing.
Yep.
You're the parents.
Yep.
Well, you can do it your way. Yeah. What other things have been very profound for you in your coaching practice that you've noticed so far?
So the thing that I love to pursue and really get my clients to do is like a gratitude journal. I actually do it on my Facebook. I write, I'm grateful for at least one thing a day on my Facebook, and I try to be creative. One of my favorites is indoor plumbing. Like, where would we be if we did not have indoor plumbing? I am surely grateful. Nice. Yeah, I'm surely grateful, because if we don't have it, then you're like, so I try to get people to think outside of the box of their gratitude and try to build that. And now, as I go throughout the day, I'm like, oh, I can be grateful for this and this and this and this. So my list is eventually growing over time, and I'm trying to do that with people, because that was always a good start with me. Start small, and that's something where you can start very, very small, and just it can be huge. You can build it huge. So I always like that, because that really helps get your mindset into a more positive way.
It changes focus.
Yes.
I remember that some years ago, my partner struggled with one of the kids, and his thinking got more and more negative about that particular child. And that particular child has some special needs, so it wasn't always easy. And then eventually I came to after reading things, I had this thing, I'm going to talk to him every evening about the amazing things she's done during the day. And over time, she became his favorite. And I just said that was not the plan either. But it was definitely because I was telling every good thing, but I was focusing on it. So everybody's focus started changing. And that's what I like about these gratitude journals as well, that when you look at it from what's gone right and what do I have to be grateful for and what do I love in the world, your whole focus changes and your whole life changes. And that's, I find it beautiful, really beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool one. Any other things that you have that you find working really, really well? Maybe the secret, the big secret of.
So another thing I really like is we always have negative in our life. It just happens. So why not take that negative and try to turn it into a positive? So I always like to come up with two things. Like, example is like somebody cut me off, while I was driving.
Yeah.
That's a negative. I got upset with it. But then turn it around into a positive. Well, that person could now get pulled over versus me. Or that person is in a hurry. It's none of my concern. They're upset, but now I'm not upset. Yeah. So it's just, you got to turn it around. And because once you start turning it around, you quit seeing the negative in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to use it as what lesson can be learned and what was the silver lining, which comes down to almost the same thing. But one of the things that I found really cool is to ask people, so what could you learn from this? Because sometimes it's hard to find, but there is so often something to be learned from it. And it just does change your thinking.
Yeah, it really does.
Focus on another side of it.
Yep.
That's one of the things that I like about Byron Katie as well, with the work where these turnarounds, they can be hard, but they can also be very well. Actually, the harder they are, the more useful they are.
Yep.
But yeah, it's Byron Katie is at times really, 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 really thought-provoking. Do you ever use any of that in your work? Because I sometimes do, depending on the client.
Yeah, sometimes. It really depends on the client.
Yeah, some clients are more open than others to
Yep.
turning things around. I've used it with my kids at times a bit as well when they had a fight, and then one came to complain, and then using the work with them, and they should be more considerate towards me, and then eventually I had to say I should be more considerate towards them and myself, huh? Yeah, it's really fascinating, because what I've tried to teach them is what you show to others, you get in return. So yeah, that's why this turnaround of Behr and Katie can be really useful when one is complaining about another. And they kind of hate me for it at times. But it's good stuff. Is there anything else? Because we're on about 19 minutes now, in our 20 minutes. Is there anything you would like to share with those who are watching this to see something?
I always like to, my little saying is, positive thinking will change the way you see the world, and you will see a world in a more happier place. So if you just keep on working on it, the world around you will be happier, and you'll be happier. Life is short, so why not be happy instead of miserable? So I'd rather be happy.
That's a good thing. So anybody who wants to contact you, how do they do that?
I do have a website at riseuptopositivity.com. You can reach out to me on my DM or email. It's riseuptopositivity@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm pretty quick at responding back.
All right. I'll put that with the post so that they can find it, click on it. That will be useful. Anything else?
Just stay positive. It's worth it. It's hard work, but it's worth it.
It is. It definitely is. Once you can do it more structurally, your life changes.
Yep.
I found that meditating helps to get my brain into a more positive headspace. Because otherwise it would be a fight. And I found with meditating, it just happened. It wasn't a fight.
Yep.
That was for me really good. So, yeah. Okay. Well, it was really nice to have you today with me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, you're welcome. And maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.